Greetings today. We're in section 4 of the just suffering for the unjust for 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 24 and 25. The 16th Psalm in verse 10 says, "For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption." Now, Psalm 16:10 is referenced 3 times in the book of Acts in the New Testament. We'll read all 3. Acts 2:27, "Because thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thy Holy One to see corruption." Again in verse 31 of Acts 2, "He, seeing this before, spake of the resurrection of Christ, that his soul was not left in hell, neither his flesh did see corruption." To Acts 13 and verse 35, the 3rd reference, "Wherefore he saith also in another psalm, Thou shalt not suffer thy Holy One to see corruption." In Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 20, we find these words, "The soul that sinneth, it shall die. The Son shall not bear the iniquity of the Father, neither shall the Father bear the iniquity of the Son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him." Drop down to verse 26 of Ezekiel 18. "When a righteous man turneth away from his righteousness and committeth iniquity and dieth in them, for his iniquity that he hath done shall he die. Again, when the wicked man turneth away from his wickedness that he hath committed, and doeth that which is lawful and right, he shall save his soul alive." Romans chapter 11, verse 32 makes this great conclusion, "For God hath concluded them all in unbelief, that he might have mercy upon all." Go back to Romans 3:19, where it says, "Now we know that what things soever the law saith, it saith to them that are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may become guilty before God." Most people are familiar with John 3:16. Well, 2 verses later in John 3:18, he says, "He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already." Why? "Because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God." We drop down to verse 36 of John 3. This is now the testimony of John the Baptist instead of the words of Jesus. But it totally agrees when it says, "He that believeth on the Son hath everlasting life, and that he that believeth not the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abides," that's present tense, "on him." We'll go to the book of Romans chapter 4 now, beginning in verse 3, where it says, "For what saith the Scripture? Abraham believed God, and it," his belief of God, "was counted unto him for righteousness. Now to him that worketh is the reward not reckoned of grace, but of debt. But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. Even as David also describeth the blessedness of the man unto whom God imputeth righteousness without works, saying, Blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven, and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin." Now, down to verse 23 of Romans 4, it says, "Now it was not written for his sake alone," referring to Abraham, "that it was imputed to him, but for us also, to whom it shall be imputed, if we believe on him that raised up Jesus our Lord from the dead, who was delivered for our offenses, and was raised again for our justification." So the word counted, reckoned, and imputed, these words in these verses are all translated from the same Greek word, Strong's 30:49, logizomai. And it refers to taking an inventory.